Good morning, girls. Welcome to the subject of BPS. We are dealing with unit number 3, that is all about the environmental analysis and the diagnosis of the internal as well as the external factors. In the offline classes, we have already dealt with analysis up till analysis of specific environment, and in today's session and onwards, we'll be dealing with the next portion of the same unit, right? Today we are to start with the Michael Porter's 5 forces, all right, which is very famous. Now, why it is important to study this model? Michael Porter's 5 forces model is very important and very interesting to understand. See, any business organization is very much prone to environmental effect that we have seen, and it can be divided in mainly 2 main parts. That also we have checked it earlier, that those are said to be internal as well as external factors, right? Internal factors come under the purview of management, and that is why it can be controlled by the expert knowledge of the management and the internal teams. But as far as the external environment is concerned, they are all those factors which cannot be controlled, and that is why it is very important to consider and to check these all forces very crucially, right? So Michael Porter has explained such kind of 5 important forces which are affecting the functioning of the business organization in the due course. Now, these 5 forces are the tools which tells us for the, or which helps to analyze the competition of the business. It draws the industrial organization economies towards the driving 5 forces that determines the competitive intensity. Means on the basis of this we can decide that what will be the competitive intensity, how the firm is threatened with the competition outside. Therefore, the attractiveness of the industry in the terms of profitability can be mentioned, can be understood, can be analyzed, and these 5 forces helps to be very important in understanding this particular situation. Alright, so the 5 forces emerging in the business environment will lead the business towards whether it will gain the profit or loss, and that we will try to understand with the 5 forces as you can see it on the slide or on the screen right now, right? As you can see it, there are 5 forces starting with the threat of new entrant, right? We will understand all of them in the clockwise circle, right? So say if you see it from here, it is the bargaining power of the supplier. But before going to that, let us try to just understand this Porter's 5 forces. See, it is a framework and it's a tool, as I said, for analyzing the competition to a business, right? It draws 5 forces that helps to decide the competitive intensity, and therefore whether the firm is attractive to follow or industry, or whether it is unattractive. That can be decided from the profitability point of view. Now, an unattractive industry is one in which the effect of these 5 forces reduces over profitability, right? That means unattractive means these 5 forces are really not very much affecting the firm, then it is considered to be unattractive. And the most unattractive industry would be one approaching the pure competition, in which the available profits for all the firms are driven to normal profit levels. That is why the 5 forces perspective is associated with its originator, as I told you, Michael Porter, and he gave this in his and he published this somewhere in 1979. Now, according to this theory or this model, Porter refers to these factors as microenvironmental. That means they are existing in the external environment, but they consist of those forces which are close to the company that affects the ability to serve its customers and make a profit. And that is why a change in any of these forces normally affects the business. The overall industry attractiveness does not imply that every firm in the industry will return the same profitability. Thus, the firms are able to apply their core competencies, business models and networks to achieve the a profit or maybe the industrial average, right? So Porter 5 forces include the 3 forces from the horizontal competition, that is the threat of the substitute product or services, the threat of the established rivals, and the threat of the new entrants. And the 2 others are said to be the vertical competition, that is the bargaining power of the supplier on one hand and the bargaining power of the customers on the other, right? So the Porter strategy is a kind of tool that helps to decide whether the industry will be having the threats from these area, whether they need to consider it, and how attractive it is from that point of view. So to begin with the first force, that is the threat of the new entrant. Now when there is a threat of a new entrant, that has been explained here, right? If we try to study this, then we can see that when the profitable industries yield high returns, it will be attractive a new firm for the rest of the competitors, right? If the firm is industry or the firm is say earning high profits, then the rest of the people will start thinking, or rest of the firms will start thinking that here the returns are there and we can enter there. So the possibility of new entrants is always there in the profitable firms, right? So new entrants eventually will decrease profitability for the other firm in the industry because of the entry, right? So unless the entry of the new firms can be made more difficult by the abnormal profitability will fall towards the zero, which is minimum level of profitability required to keep an industry in the business. So the following factors can have an effect on how much threat of the new entrant can be there. That means when you are earning profits, there are threats of new entrants, right? And which points or which factors can be the effective factors. Number one, the existence of the barriers to the entry. That means with the help of patents and rights, what you can do is you can restrict the entry. What next can be done? The most attractive segment is one in which entry barrier are high and the exit barriers are low. That means what a firm can do who is earning a higher profit, it can restrict the entry barriers by keeping the most attractive segment. Many barriers can be kept on the attractive segment so that the entry becomes easy but the exits barriers are low. So it's worth noting, however, that high barriers to entry almost always make the exit more difficult, right? So the high barriers to the entry means you are not allowing the entry, that will make the exit also difficult. So industry profitability, that means the more profitable the industry, the more attractive it will be to the new competitors. That is very natural. So network effect, which is particularly influential in the internet based social networks such as Facebook, etc. These platforms, when start realizing or start revealing the profitability of the firm, what happens is there is a lot many threats of new entrant coming to the same segment, coming to the same industry and creating the threats to the existing one, right? The next force that we need to consider is threat of substitute. Now substitute means the product which can be used for the other product. It may be say a kind of a substitution over the other product. A substitute product uses a different technology to try to solve the same economic need, right? You can come up with the substitute product and you can gain the market and you can lose the market share of the prior entrants or maybe the prior players. So what are the factors that are to be considered here? Buyer propensity to the substitute. This aspect incorporated both the tangible and intangible factors. That means if the buyer's propensity to substitute means when you are buying more number of substitute than the original one, then there is a threat that they may take over the existing product. Relative price performance. Suppose whatever the product right now you may be using and the product that has come up as the substitute is lower in price, then naturally there will be shift of the consumers towards the substitute product. Even the buyer switching cost is there. That means as I said, that if the cost of existing product and when you compare the new product is quite different from each other, then what happens is buyer may switch the product. Then maybe the perceived value of the different product differentiation. That means whatever the product you have and the differentiated product or maybe substitute product may be giving you more value, then at that time there are chances that there may be the substitute which may be taking over the market. Number of substitute products available in the market, again if there was a single product there and substitutes have entered, that means more choices is available to the buyers, then it becomes difficult for the original product to survive, right? And ease of substitution means the other product is not different from the first one, and that may create the problem, right? So ease of substitution is easily you can shift to the substitute, that is the factor that has to be considered. And availability of close substitute, naturally if the close substitutes are there, there are all chances that customer may shift. Then comes up the third force, that is the bargaining power of the customers. Now what is this bargaining power of the customers? When we talk the bargaining power, that means if the demand of the product or the services is coming from the few large buyers, then they are in a strong position to twist the arms of the existing player, right? That means they are in a position to dictate their own terms and conditions and will stop the order, and that may create the problems for the existing suppliers, right? There is an example that Nirma Limited was buying soda ash, right, required for the detergent powder that they used to produce from the Tata Chemicals. Now what happened was that the lifting of the soda ash by Nirma from the Tata Chemical was in such a big bulk that when Nirma stopped buying the soda ash from Tata Chemicals and produced its own plant, what Tata Chemicals had to do was a big problem for them. It resulted into a big problem for Tata Chemicals. Now this is said to be the bargaining power of the customers, means in a high quantity when customers are buying, they are dictating the suppliers, and at that time if customers are taking up their own instead of outsourcing something from the suppliers, they are producing their own, then that may create a problem for the existing supplier, right? This is what is said to be the bargaining power of the customers. Now the same is applying to the bargaining power of the suppliers. See, when what happens is when the market situation is of the monopoly, duopoly or oligopoly, where the need of many customers are served by only one or few suppliers, then suppliers are considered to be in a more strong or dictative position, right? And in creating the competitive environment. So under such situation, what happens is that the supplier enjoys an upper hand, and that is why customer either have to tolerate the suppliers, maybe have to stop buying the product or switch over to the substitute products. So something like this happens, then what happens is that if they are available or are likely to be made available by the other new entrants who may identify an opportunity in them. That means when the supplying power increases or the supplier's power increases, then that also becomes the threat for the existing ones, right? So few factors as given in the notes, you can even refer it, right? But the simple thing is when the customers become stronger, it is a threat. When suppliers become stronger, it is a threat to the existing company. So both the factors we have discussed here. Then comes up is said to be the last one, that is said to be competitive rivalry. I'll come back to the the diagram again and we'll be able to check it out. So for most of the industries, the intensity of the competition rivalry is major determinant. See, if most of the industries face the competition, right, and if the intensity of the competition is very high, or we can say that under such situation the existing competitors in the industry are actually playing their games and joking, and their current position may be fluctuating a lot, and that may create so many problems for the existing firms, right? So having an understanding of the industry rivalry, it is vital to successfully market a product. So when you know that there are many rivals, then it is very important to successfully market the product, right? Again, positioning pertains to how the public perceives the product and distinguishes it from the competitors. That means your product has to be unique in nature, positioning has to be unique, so that instead of buying from the competitors, it is that your product will be bought more, right? So a business must be aware of its competitors, marketing strategy and their pricing also, so that they can make the reactive changes towards it, right? So these are such such kind of factors which are considered to be 5. Now if we just check it out, that how these factors affect, see, bargaining power of the supplier on one hand, as you can see it right now, there is the vertical, that is bargaining power of the buyers, and in between there is industry rivalry. On the other hand, as you can see it on your left side, it is threat of the new entrant, and on the other side, that means on the right side of the circle, it is the threat of the substitutes. That means, in short, what Porter tries to say with these 5 forces, that these 5 forces are such which may create the problems for the or which may analysis of these factors or these 5 forces may help the unit or maybe the firm to have more competitive type of strategies. They can frame more valid and vital strategies, so that they can fight these external 5 factors which are external but they are micro in nature, right, and that can be taken up. So the strategic management can refer to the unique strategy which can be distinguished from the other firms and can take the advantage, right. So these are the 5 forces that plays very important role as far as the external forces are concerned, and it has been explained with these 5 forces. I repeat, bargaining power of supplier, or we can say the threat of new entrant, then the bargaining power of the supplier. The order does not matter. What matters is their position. It has to be vertical, then it comes up as bargaining of power of the supplier on one hand, right, that means upper hand, and bargaining power of the supplier at the bottom. In between it can be industry rivalry. On one hand there can be threat of new entrant, and the other hand it can be the threat of substitute products. So this way Michael Porter have explained these 5 forces very nicely, and that should be considered by any of the firms so as to have the perfect result, or so that they can frame the strategies well and they can find out the attractiveness of their firm or the unattractiveness, whatever the case may be, right. Now we are going to the 10th important part of the unit, that is internal analysis. See, we have checked out earlier that when we take up with the external environment, they are all such kind of factors which are considered to be such factors which are uncontrollable in nature, but they have to be considered and they have to be taken care by the unit while framing the strategies, right, and while analyzing the factors, right. When we are talking about the other side, that is internal analysis, why this internal analysis is important? Because unlike external environment, internal environment and all those factors are comparatively controllable. So through the smart strategies and manipulative tactics of the management, they can be controlled, they can be it can be properly controlled, or taking them we can create the strength and weakness, we can understand the strength and weakness, and likewise we can frame the strategies. So internal analysis is very, very crucial part of environmental diagnosis, right. So it focuses on 3 things here. Internal environment we are talking about, we are going to learn about the SWOT. That means particularly we are going to learn, or we will understand that only with the help of internal analysis we will come to know about the strength and weakness of the firm, and accordingly we can make the decisions related to the strategies then. That is why when internal analysis is done, important points are to be kept in mind, right. We know what is the strength of the business organization, means the first of all business organization needs to study the strength, right. That means business organization in various terms, like say how many products line do they have, what is the scope of the business, what is the area of marketing, maybe what is manufacturing competencies, how well the R&D skills and the leadership skills are there, how the human resource development is there, what is the reputation of the brand name. There are so many types of unique strength that may be lying, and that should be understood, that should be analyzed properly while we take up with internal analysis, right. But while taking or before taking, and likewise we can even study the weaknesses, right. Weaknesses may be related to the negative effect that may be created, right. So if an organization can be predetermined with the weakness, then what can be done is we can find out more ways to fight those weakness, and we can have the better perspectives, right. Say maybe the weaknesses like narrow product line, maybe increasing manufacturing cost, decrease in the R&D and innovation of the company, maybe poor marketing plans. These are considered to be the weaknesses, right. And if they are understood properly under internal internal analysis, then the steps can be taken up to see that the weaknesses can be resolved. But while taking up with the internal environment, there are important points that one must consider. These points we will study them in detail. They have been given in the text also, right? So let us try to study these three important points. While taking up with the internal environment, we need to take up with the first point, that is deployment of resources, right? Deployment of resources in individual, manipulative and synergized manner. That means deployment means allocation, a distribution. This is the first major point that we must consider while taking up with internal environment. What happens? Just getting the resources is not important, but it is the ability of the management and organizational members to use these resources properly and in smart manner that is very, very important. So that is the first thing that should be kept in mind, that is deployment of resources in the form of individuals, right? Or it may be say you need to manipulate the resources, or at that time or other times you need to even get it together and to make the synergized effect of it. So it is the first point that is important, that is deployment of resources. Coming up to the next one, that is evaluation of the capabilities of the organizational members over a period of time. Here we are talking about the capabilities. See, when we are talking about the capabilities, it is always that out of 7 M's of as a part of resources, right? Managers, executives, or maybe the employees, they are considered to be the human resource, as we know, and the rest of the 6 M's are such which are non-human in nature, say machines, materials, money, methods, markets, time or minutes. They all are such which are controlled by the ability of the men, right? So it is that the men or human resource which is superior over all the 6 non-human resources. So the foundation of many capabilities lie in the unique skill. So what happens is, how the capabilities of the firm can be developed, it is not by the capability of the machine or by the materials, it is generally by the capability of the individual, right? જે આપણી પાસે manpower છે, જે human resource છે, they always have the unique talent, they have the skills and knowledge, and with the help of these skills and knowledge of the organizational members, a kind of learning attitude can be developed and more effective steps can be taken up. So the evaluation of the capabilities is the result of the deliberate or maybe the concerned efforts or the intentional efforts of the corporate team while procuring, while processing and placing the capital in the organization. So it is evaluation of the capabilities of the people on whom the whole organization depends, and that is why that should be taken care of. So first is deployment of resources, that means the allocation of the resources, how much resources there or from where do you get it is not important, but its proper allocation and its use is important. Next is evolution of capabilities over a period of time, means over a period of time it is human resource and its capability in the form of skills, talent and knowledge that helps the organization to supersede the rest of the others, right? So these are the internal environment, these are the internal points of the internal environment, right, within the organization, and they are controllable. Third important area or third important point comes up is said to be core competency. Now what is this core competency? Core competencies emerges over a period of time. How it emerges? Through an organizational process, right? Say the learning curve of the individual capabilities, their collective human capital and environment of learning organization helps in developing the core competencies, which helps to distinguish an organization from the competitive organization. That means the core competencies of the people, right, over a period of time, whether it is the individual capabilities, whether you are coming up as a team and you are creating the core competency of the firm, whether the learning curve which started say from the bottom and gradually the people have started or the employees have started learning and they create a core competency, that depends. But core competencies can be developed over a period of time, and that becomes very important factor, internal factor, while understanding the strength as well as the weakness of the firm. So when we are understanding the internal environment, what we have tried to understand here is that important points should be kept in mind related to internal environment and its analysis. That is number one, deployment of the resources, right? taking care of the capabilities, that is related to human resource, and the core competencies can be developed through human resource over a period of time. These three things which are internal in nature, which is available to the firm within, that should be taken care of, right? And that is how these important points actually make the internal environment or maybe analysis easy and simple. The next thing that we need to learn here is we are going to see the strength. We are going to check out with the strength of three pillars on which the whole internal environment is built up. Number one is, as you can see it here, it is the management of resources. So as I told you earlier also, these are the three pillars on which, see, 3 points that we have seen, and these three pillars are little bit different from each other. So try to see it in a different with a different aspect. All right, here we are going to see three pillars, ત્રણ એવા સ્તંભ જેના ઉપર આખું જે internal environment છે એ built up થયેલું છે. It is framed on these three pillars. Number one is management of resources. I told you earlier also that it is not the availability of the resources that or non-availability of the resources which is important, but it is the strategic management of these available resources which helps to contribute the success or maybe the failure of the organization at times, right? So it is the use of this or strategic management of these resources which should be done. So proper management of the resources helps to bring the success, and improper strategic management will create the problems or will lead to the failures, right? So that becomes the first pillar. Then comes up the second one, that is known as capabilities evolved and core competencies developed over a period of time. Now what is this capability all about? Capability refers to the use of available human capital, right? The creative and innovative power of the human resources can be built over a period of time, and it is attained through the constant and intentional efforts and policies of the management, allowing how it can be done, allowing the executives and employees to bring best out of them, right? With this they can bring out the capabilities, they can evolve the capabilities from the human resource, right? So capability can be considered as the use of available human resource. Core competencies is the development through the training of human resource rather, right? So capabilities can be evolved over a period of time with the help of proper policies. Corporate management can bring out the best from the human beings, right? So core competencies is little different. Capabilities can be there in the people, and that can be evolved with the constant efforts, and the core competencies emerge over a period of time. What is core competency? Core competency is such a kind of thing which can only come over a period of time through training given to the human capital, maybe in deploying, and non-human resources can be prioritized. That means core competencies can be gained by the organization by giving the training to the people, or making the use of the proper prioritizing the resources, manipulating it properly, and making the collective use of them in a synergized form. These way the core competency of the firm can be developed, right? So number two pillar is such which involves two things: capabilities on one side and core competencies on the other side. Capabilities is related to human resource, right? And it is the latent talent maybe which may be there in the human capital, and that may be taken up, that may be evolved by the organizational strategies or maybe policies. And core competencies may be related to human as well as the non-human things. Human things over a period of time you can bring them as a competent, or maybe you can bring them as a more progressive human beings or human capital. On the other hand, when you are using the materials, when you are using the machine techniques, those things can be prioritized, those things can be manipulated, and their use can be synergized whenever required, right? So core competencies through training of the human resources we can develop, and we can manipulate, or we can just prioritize the use of the resources and can gain the core competencies. So that becomes the second pillar. The third one comes up as the inner relationship between the capabilities and core competencies. That means there is a connection between the capabilities and competency. Here we must understand that capability and competency is not one thing, okay? What we need to understand is that every core competency is a capability. When you are bringing it out from the people, it can be capability, but every capability, right, cannot be the core competency. So it needs a proper explanation. Like the capabilities to be a core competence, it must be valuable and unique. If you want that your capability needs to be competent, that means it needs to be a sword that can fight the competition, right? Then it has to be unique, it has to be valuable in that sense. But the core competencies availing the sustainable competitive advantage, it must be non-imitable, but these should be unique in nature. આ capability, દરેક capability છે all core competencies is capability, right? તમારી પાસે core competency હોય એ capability હોય, પણ દરેક capability છે એ core competency માં convert ન કરી શકાય, કારણ કે તમારી core competency છે એ કેવી છે? It is valuable, it is unique, and it has to be non-imitable, means competitors should not imitate it. If they imitate, then it may be useless. Thus the tapping of the competitive advantage. So when you want to get the competitive advantage, you have to depend on say unique or competencies rather than the capabilities ઉપર ડિપેન્ડ કર્યા કરતા તમારે યુનિક કોમ્પિટન્સીસ ડેવલપ કરવાની છે. વેલ્યુએબલ નોન ઇમિટેબલ કોમ્પિટન્સીસ જો ડેવલપ કરો તો you can get the more rewards, or you will be able to find out more opportunities from the external environment, right? So on these three pillars, the whole internal environment is built or dependent. What are they? I repeat, management of resources means getting the resource is not important, using the resource and how well you can use the resource is very, very crucial. Second thing is capabilities evolve and core competencies have to be developed. Capabilities are lying in the human beings, they can be brought out by the organizational policies and then can be made to use, and core competencies come up with the sharpening of the unique thing in you, right? And they have to be such that is related in the third part, in the third point or third pillar, which tells us that they have to be such unique, they have to be valuable to the customers, and they have to be non-imitable. Only then you will be able to get the competitive advantage and you will be able to tap the opportunities from the environment outside, right? So here what we have studied are the two things that we have checked out. That internal environment, when we are dealing, we have to find out the strength and weakness, right? When we are finding out the strength and weakness, three important things are to be when we are diagnosing or when we are evaluating or analyzing the internal environment, three points have to be kept in mind. That is deployment of resources in individual, evolution of the capabilities, and the core competencies over a period of time. The same three things have been relatively explained as the three pillars, right, on which the whole environment, internal environment, can be built. They can be considered as management of resources on one hand, capabilities and core competencies. Capabilities can be evolved, can be brought out, and core competencies can be sharpened, right? Every capability cannot be core competency, but core competency is the capability. That we must understand, right? And there is interrelationship. So if you want to be competent, if you want to get the competitive advantage, it is the core competencies that have to be sharpened, right? Capabilities can be generalized. All people may be ready to work for 8 hours. That is not a new thing, that is capability of the human being. But core competency means with 8 hours if you are working, and out of them the 8 people are such which may be working or who may be working with more efficiency and will be able to give more output to the firms than as compared to the rest of them in the other firm, then this can be the core competency of this single firm, right? So this is how it has to be understood. Now we are moving towards the importance of organizational capabilities, right? See, the organization capabilities, as we know, they are unique to the organization as compared to the other competitive organization. Now these uniqueness can be considered in the terms of unique organizational structure. It may be the non-human resources, or maybe the human capital at times. Now the combination of the above three dimensions are considered in the terms of following capability factors. That means organizational capability factors may be taken up from the say the dimensions that we are going to which we have already seen, and how the importance can be created as far as the capability is concerned, how capability of the organization in short can be known with the help of studying these many kind of 8 types of points, right? They are say the technology related capability factor. That means if a firm we are talking about, it may be having a very sound technology, right? There may be constant scientific research done by the experts, maybe high tech activities are taken up, maybe the technical capabilities to innovate is more, maybe expertise knowledge and innovative learning is more, then these can be considered as the capability, and this becomes the importance. This why it is important, then this may be the technology related capability factor which must be understood. Then comes up is said to be the manufacturing related capability. How that can be known? Say suppose if you are manufacturing with a certain kind of production, say which may be costing you low, then that is the other as compared to the competitors, then that is the low cost of production efficiency of the firm, that becomes their capability, right? Maybe the quality of the manufactured goods may be more, there may be high utilization of the fixed assets and installed capacity in the capital intensive, which may require the high fixed cost, right? And this can be attained with the high volume and low price. So this is how the manufacturing related things can be made sharpened, or the capabilities can be known. Even the low cost plant may be established, which may be giving you the best results. It may be the low cost product that may be designed and they may be engineered by the capability of the firm, that may lead to the strong point, right? There may be the flexibility in the manufacturing process, which may be the capability of the firm, which may not be available in the other sections or other units, then this may be your capability, or maybe that can be known. The third thing that can be known as the capability is marketing and sales, right? That means talented marketing executives you have a proper team, then we can take up with the fast marketing activities. Again, appropriate linkages when there is there with the manufacturing activities, we can do it. There may be a wide breadth of product line which may help you to gain the profit, right? There may be smart advertising done, sales promotion is taken up, attractive packaging may be there, proper booking and delivery scheduling is maintained, customer service is very courteous and very polite, that may lead to a more customer pool, right? Maybe guarantees and warranty periods for the durable products that may be provided. These are all said to be the capabilities of the marketing area. Then comes up is the distribution and dealership capability. Now how that can be there? Say the team of wholesaler, dealers or distributors that you may be using, that may be extended and very strong, maybe effective logistics may be there, attractive rewards or incentives may be given to the distribution team, right? Maybe the owners, they may have their own retail outlets, or there may be say the control and minimization of the distribution cost. Now these are all such factors, or these are all such points on which the capability of the sales or distribution area can be dependent or can be sharpened, right? Next comes up is financial related capacity. It may be like appropriate matching between the assets and the liabilities, maybe the flexibility in the capital structure, maybe the financial leverage advantage is taken up, maybe at times there is protection of physical assets, right? Through insurance, such kind of financial policies may be adopted. Say sources of finance may be taken up at the short notice and at the reduced interest cost, that may be there. Even effective treasury functions may be there for the investment of the short term idle funds, so that you can make the best use of the idle fund that is available. So this is finance related. That next comes up is human resource management. That may be you are hiring talented executives, you are procuring, preparing and placing these executives nicely. You may be providing the designing, providing a platform for designing and developing innovative products. Maybe the human resource may be provided with the expertise technology or expertise knowledge, right? Adequate reward is there to boost their efforts, or there may be the learning aspect that may be there in the organization, which may help the individual to gain more, right? Next comes up are said to be the organizational related capability. They all are there in your textbook, so do not bother. You can go through them again when you want it. So there may be the organizational restructuring that may be required, and it can be done very easily. Say adequate opportunities of the growth is there, development is there for the organization. Maybe there is not a complex system of complex organizational structure is not there, right? Even the information system is superior related to whatever information that you need, right? Again, the use of internet and the latest technology may be there, so as to make you more connected with the rest of the world. These things may help to build the capabilities. Then comes up the miscellaneous capability factors. It involves, see, if you see it, it has involved the production, it has involved the marketing, it has involved the financing, HR, right? Even the organizational structure has been taken into consideration, and here are the miscellaneous factor. Maybe the location may be very convenient, maybe pleasant and courteous behavior of the employees is there, favorable image and reputation of the firm may be there, there may be easy access to the financial resources, overall low cost production operations are carried out, again R&D is supported a lot. These are all such miscellaneous factors which may help to have the organizational capabilities strong. So here we are ending up with this session, and we have ended up with the importance of the organizational capabilities. In this session, what we have done is we have checked out with the five forces of Potter, right, which helps us to decide that these five forces are to be taken up or considered for the firm to see that whether it is attractive or not from the external point of view, right? We have also taken up with the internal analysis here, taking up with the say important points. We have seen the three pillars, though they are little bit interconnected, but they have to be studied separately. Next comes up is the importance, why these organization capabilities are so very important, and under them we have studied these many types of elements which tells us that these may bring the capabilities of the firm, and that is why they are to be considered, right? Here we end up the session. When we meet next, we'll be checking out with the rest of the portion of this unit. By next lecture, we'll be finishing this third unit, that is environmental diagnosis. Keep in touch with the YouTube sessions, right? And if you have any queries, we can sort it out when we meet personally, or maybe through other social media or WhatsApp group, we can communicate. Till then, when we meet next, it's a goodbye from my side. Thank you.